Because I've said everything I have to say about it. If anyone cares what I have to say about it, they can Google me, and they can look for 20 years what I have to say about it. I haven't changed my opinion.
You think you know Quentin Tarantino, the filmmaking genius who gave us cultural touchstones like Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, and Inglourious Basterds. The man who turned violence into a ballet and dialogue into a symphony. He is, without a doubt, one of the most celebrated and controversial directors of all time. His films don't just entertain, they revive careers, redefine what's cool, and shove independent cinema right into the mainstream. But behind that brilliant, fast-talking mind lies a very specific way of doing things. On a Tarantino set, there are rules, not just about hitting your marks, but an unspoken code. His vision is absolute, his script is scripture, and his direction is law. The actors who thrive in his world, legends like Samuel L. Jackson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Christoph Waltz, get this. They know that serving Tarantino's vision elevates their own performances. They trust the process, they embrace the darkness of their characters, and they never, ever mess with the words on the page. So what happens when an actor dares to challenge the master? What happens when an ego clashes with his vision? The answer is simple. They don't get a callback. They're exiled from his cinematic kingdom. These aren't just stories of creative differences. These are tales of on-set brawls, creative meltdowns, and philosophical divides so deep they ended collaborations forever. Today, we're looking at the 7 actors who reportedly committed the ultimate sin, disrespecting the man who was offering them a shot at cinematic immortality. These stories might just change how you see some of your favorite stars. Because when the man behind some of cinema's most iconic characters tells you who made his life hell, you listen. Our list starts with a name that embodies old-school Hollywood, toughness, a man whose real-life volatility was just as scary as any character he played. Lawrence Tierney. When Tarantino was casting his explosive 1992 debut, Reservoir Dogs, he needed a towering figure to play the heist's mastermind, Joe Cabot. Tierney, a film noir legend known for his menace, seemed like perfect casting. He didn't just play tough guys. He was a tough guy, with a reputation for bar fights and run-ins with the law. Tarantino thought he'd found his man. He was right about the menace, but disastrously wrong about everything else. From day one, the set became a psychological war zone. According to Tarantino and the cast, Tierney was pure chaos. He struggled to remember his lines, a major sin for a director whose dialogue is so precise. But that was the least of their worries. His behavior was erratic and unsettling. He constantly argued with Tarantino over blocking and dialogue. He'd walk away mid-conversation and lash out at the crew, creating an atmosphere of constant tension. By the end of the first week, everyone on set reportedly hated him. Tarantino, a 29-year-old first-time director, found himself in an impossible situation. He later described Tierney as a complete lunatic who needed to be sedated. The conflict hit its breaking point when, after another confrontation, Tierney and Tarantino got into a fistfight. In a move that shocked everyone, the young director fired the veteran actor right there at the breakfast table. The exhausted crew reportedly burst into applause. But this was low-budget indie filmmaking. With no time or money to recast and reshoot, Tarantino had to rehire Tierney to finish his scenes. The damage, however, was done. A line had been crossed, and Tarantino, who values loyalty, vowed to never work with him again. Reservoir Dogs became a cult classic, but Tierney became a ghost in Tarantino's personal history. His first and maybe most brutal lesson in dealing with difficult actors. The year is 1994, and Pulp Fiction is about to change cinema forever. It revived John Travolta's career, made Samuel L. Jackson a superstar, and cemented Quentin Tarantino as the voice of a generation. For Bruce Willis, it was a lifeline. After a few flops, his star was fading. Tarantino handed him the role of Butch Coolidge, the boxer who refuses to throw a fight, giving him a chance at a comeback. The collaboration should have been legendary. Instead, it became a quiet clash of filmmaking philosophies. On screen, it was magic. Willis gave a fantastic performance that's still one of his best. But behind the scenes, a battle of wills was brewing. The problem was control. Tarantino's scripts are sacred. Every pause, every is there for a reason. Bruce Willis, however, was a 90s movie star, used to improvising and shaping his characters to fit the Bruce Willis brand. This approach was poison to Tarantino. Crew members said the tension was thick. Willis would constantly question Butch's motivations, not to understand the character, but to control him. Tarantino later talked about two types of actors: those who trust the director and those who need to control the performance. He put Willis firmly in the second category. Every take reportedly became a power struggle between Willis's movie star instincts and Tarantino's unwavering commitment to the script. While Willis brought star power, Tarantino saw him as someone who wasn't disappearing into the role, but bending it to fit his persona. This was a huge contrast to the bond Tarantino was forming with John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, and Uma Thurman, who became his creative family. Willis remained an outsider. Despite the massive success of Pulp Fiction, the call from Tarantino never came again. By trying to assert control, Willis had unknowingly ensured he'd never be invited back to the Tarantino universe. Some feuds are born on set. This one was born in an interview. The collaboration between Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney on the 1996 cult classic, From Dusk Till Dawn, should have been the start of a beautiful friendship. The film, written by Tarantino and directed by his friend Robert Rodriguez, was Clooney's first major movie role after his breakout on It was a hit, and Clooney was officially a movie star. And yet, they never worked together again. For years, nobody really knew why. Then Tarantino dropped a bombshell. With zero sarcasm, he just stated, "George Clooney is not a movie star." This wasn't just a random insult, it was a statement of artistic values. For Tarantino, a movie star has a raw, untamed energy, a willingness to be unlikable or dangerous. George Clooney, with his smooth charm and mainstream appeal, was the opposite. He was, in Tarantino's view, too polished and too concerned with being liked. This philosophical clash was reportedly visible on the set of From Dusk Till Dawn. Tarantino, as screenwriter and co-star, allegedly watched as Clooney tried to soften the character of Seth Gecko, looking for the good person under the hardened criminal. This went against everything Tarantino's script was about. Clooney, understandably, didn't take the public slam quietly. In an interview years later, he admitted he was a little irritated by the comments. He explained the insult, finishing with a blunt message for Tarantino. "All right, dude, fuck off." The feud was now public. Tarantino sees Clooney as the face of a sanitized corporate Hollywood he rebels against. Clooney, a two-time Oscar winner, saw Tarantino's comments as deeply disrespectful. The bridge wasn't just burned, it was nuked from orbit. The story of Quentin Tarantino's relationship with Jamie Foxx is one of the most complex on this list. It's a tale of creative clashes and ego that played out on the set of the masterpiece Django Unchained. Unlike others here, Foxx delivered a celebrated performance in what became Tarantino's highest-grossing film. But behind the success, the partnership was reportedly fracturing under the pressure. The trouble allegedly began with insecurity. Foxx wasn't the first choice for Django. Will Smith had passed on the role. This fact reportedly fueled Foxx's desire to have more creative input. He didn't just want to act, he wanted to shape the film's message. The biggest clash was over the soul of the character. Tarantino's script painted Django as a man driven by love and revenge in a morally gray world. Foxx, however, wanted to make Django more of a clear-cut hero. He reportedly tried to alter scenes to give his character a stronger moral compass, which was a direct challenge to Tarantino's vision. For a director whose characters thrive on moral ambiguity, this was a serious problem. In one instance, Tarantino reportedly got frustrated with Foxx's cool demeanor, telling him he needed to strip away his real-life persona and truly embody the character of a slave. While Foxx has since defended Tarantino and expressed admiration for him, saying he'd work with the tyrant director 1,000 times, the on-set friction was undeniable. The creative battles and power struggles were intense. The trust between them was strained. The combination of on-set control issues and creative insubordination landed Jamie Foxx on this list. Despite the film's incredible success, the door to any future collaboration appears to be firmly closed. All right, we are deep in the trenches of Quentin Tarantino's creative process. We've seen how clashing with his vision is a one-way ticket out of his world. But the stories only get more intense. If you're fascinated by these behind-the-scenes battles, do me a favor and hit that like button. And make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because you won't want to miss what's next. We're about to talk about an actor who was quietly a disappointment to Tarantino, and another involved in an on-set incident that destroyed a priceless piece of history. The story of David Carradine and Quentin Tarantino isn't about a huge fight, but a quieter tale of disappointment. Carradine's casting as the titular Bill in Kill Bill was a classic Tarantino move, resurrecting a cult actor for a major role. Carradine, star of the 70s series Kung Fu, seemed perfect to play the deadly philosophical assassin. But the hero Tarantino admired from afar wasn't the man he worked with on set. Tarantino's first choice for Bill was actually Warren Beatty, but he dropped out, so Tarantino rewrote the part specifically for Carradine, whom he considered a great mad genius. He expected a collaborator who would match his own obsessive energy. What he got was a veteran actor who was, by many accounts, a bit too relaxed. The issue wasn't ego, it was work ethic. Tarantino, who treats his dialogue like poetry, was reportedly frustrated by Carradine's lack of preparation. He would sometimes show up to the set unprepared, slowing down an already massive production. For a director who demands precision, Carradine's casual approach was a source of constant irritation. The tension reportedly peaked while filming Bill's famous Superman monologue. It's a classic piece of Tarantino writing that needs perfect delivery. Tarantino allegedly had to coach Carradine through it line by line, take after take, to get the performance he wanted. It wasn't a collaboration. It felt like a struggle. Ultimately, Carradine's performance is iconic. His cool, detached demeanor became Bill's defining trait. But for Tarantino, the experience was a lesson in what they say about meeting your heroes. The collaboration, born from admiration, reportedly soured into a quiet disappointment. There was no public feud, but the connection was broken, solidifying Tarantino's resolve to only work with actors who shared his obsessive commitment. This next story isn't about a clash of egos. It's about a single shocking moment on the set of The Hateful Eight that destroyed a priceless piece of history and left an actress heartbroken. The actress was Jennifer Jason Leigh, and the object was a 150-year-old Martin guitar. For her role as the fugitive Daisy Domergue, Leigh had to play the guitar and sing. To ensure authenticity, the Martin Guitar Museum loaned the production a real, one-of-a-kind guitar from the 1870s, valued around $40,000. Leigh, a dedicated actress, fell in love with it. The plan for the scene was simple. Leigh would play the antique guitar, then they would cut. The priceless Martin would be swapped for a prop double, and Kurt Russell's character would snatch the prop and smash it. Somehow that plan was never communicated to Kurt Russell. The cameras rolled. Leigh played the song. Russell, completely in character, stormed over, snatched the guitar and smashed it to pieces. The look of genuine shock and horror on Jennifer Jason Leigh's face in the film is 100% real. According to the film's sound mixer, everyone on set was horrified. Kurt Russell, realizing what he'd done, was devastated. Leigh said his eyes welled up with tears. While most reports chalk it up to a catastrophic miscommunication, it represents a chilling aspect of Tarantino's filmmaking. The moment is everything. The pursuit of a perfect, authentic shot can sometimes take precedence over anything else, including an actor's emotional state and an irreplaceable artifact. The Martin Museum was so appalled they announced they would never again loan guitars to film productions. Placing Uma Thurman here is complicated, but necessary. She is in many ways Tarantino's ultimate muse. Their work on Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill created some of cinema's most iconic moments. He called her his Marlene Dietrich. The bride in Kill Bill is even credited to Q and U. But behind this celebrated partnership lies a dark story of broken trust, a fractured friendship, and an incident that left Thurman with permanent physical injuries. The breaking point came near the end of the grueling Kill Bill shoot in Mexico. The scene was simple, the bride driving a blue Carmen Ghia. But Thurman was uncomfortable. A crew member had warned her the car, which had been modified, might be unsafe. She was not a stunt driver and insisted a professional handle it. Tarantino, however, was furious she was wasting time and wouldn't take no for an answer. He went to her trailer and personally assured her the car was safe, that the road was straight, and she just needed to go fast enough for her hair to blow in the wind. Trusting him, she reluctantly agreed. What happened next was captured on film. As she drives, the car swerves on a hidden curve, and she smashes head-on into a palm tree. The impact left her with a concussion, a permanently damaged neck, and injured knees. In the aftermath, the relationship was shattered. Thurman said she went from being a creative contributor and performer to being like a broken tool. For years, their friendship was strained by bitterness and betrayal. Tarantino has since called the incident the biggest regret of my life, admitting it was a horrendous mistake. While they have since reconciled, the story stands as the most extreme example of the potential dangers on a Tarantino set. It reveals a director so focused on his vision that he was willing to push his most trusted collaborator into real, physical danger. A harrowing story about the devastating personal cost of creating art. So there you have it. 7 stories of conflict, control, and creative combustion from the world of one of cinema's greatest masters. From the chaos of Lawrence Tierney to the philosophical divide with George Clooney and the devastating breach of trust with Uma Thurman, a clear pattern emerges. Working with Quentin Tarantino is a high-stakes game. He is a true auteur whose vision is total and uncompromising. The script is the law. The character is not open for interpretation. The actors who thrive under his direction get this bargain. They surrender their ego to the story, trusting his genius will guide them to an iconic performance. The actors on this list, for one reason or another, broke that sacred pact. Some challenged his authority, others questioned his words, and a few just didn't align with his raw approach to filmmaking. In Tarantino's world, you're either with him or you're out. And his feuds aren't limited to actors. His public clash with director Spike Lee over the use of racial slurs in his films is one of the most enduring in Hollywood. These conflicts don't necessarily make the final films worse. Sometimes the tension arguably adds another layer. But they do reveal the often brutal reality of creating art. It's a process filled with passion, ego, and an unwavering belief in a singular vision. But what do you think? Was Tarantino justified in his demands, or did he go too far? Are there other actors you know of who have clashed with the master? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.